Coach Cael.
Cael, did you come through Big Ten's relatively healthy, other than like Jason with
Yep.
his continued recovery?
Yeah, that's one of the things you hope for going into a conference meet, a qualifier for the nationals like that. And yeah, we're feeling pretty good.
Did you see what you needed from Nolf, Cael, at Big Ten's to know that he's kind of where you want him to be at least? He's making some progress from where he was?
Yeah, I think you saw as the longer he wrestled, the more confident he got. He was just playing around a little bit more, and but his speed was great. His shots looked really good, and that's what we wanted him to discover. And so I think it went as well as it could have.
What was your reaction to where you were seated in some of your matchups?
I think for the most part, it's about what we expected. I mean, there's, especially recent history, it seems like there's a lot of screwy seating going on, but you kind of expect that now, right? And so it's not really that big of a deal. We just gotta go take care of business.
Do you spend a lot of time kind of examining the field and examining the seedings, or just kind of focus on what's in front each day?
Yeah, just look at the path that our kids have, right, and make sure they're ready for that path. We're not too worried about the rest of the tournament and what's going on, and it's just wasted energy. So yeah, just make sure our guys are ready for what's in front of them.
And it seems like most of the guys have that same mentality. How do you make sure they're focused on themselves versus the rest of the field?
Well, I don't know. I think they're the ones that have to choose to do that and follow through with it, and just takes discipline, right? And understanding why you do that, right? The goal is to be the best that you can be, and you're not going to be the best you can be if you're wasting time and energy focusing on things that are out of your control, right? Every coach is going to say that. So it really just comes down to the student athletes, them making that decision and being willing to follow through with it, and just being incredibly loyal to their goals and what it is that they want to get out of this weekend.
What are the stakes like for Zane this weekend, considering, it's his last tournament, and he always has seemed like he's had the same approach? Considering the streak he's on, I mean, where do you see his legacy ending? I mean, I guess, what does he have a chance to do for his legacy this coming weekend?
Well, I think Zane is, will always be remembered as one of the great college wrestlers, certainly, one of the best Penn State wrestlers for sure. And he can only add to that, right, this weekend. So he has a chance to go compete for another national championship, for a third national title, and that's pretty darn special. So, but yeah, he's got a great mentality. He takes it one match at a time, and is focused on, like we talked about, just being the best he can be. I don't think he's worried about his legacy, or at least I hope not. I don't think he is, right? You've heard him talk for the last 4 years, right? He's down to earth as they get.
What's maybe your top Zane moment so far? Maybe even going all the way back to when he got here.
My top Zane moment? I don't know. He's just so consistent. He's just the same all the time, right? He's had great performances, right? His national tournaments have been he's wrestled incredibly well, right? He's had some huge dual meet wins. But I think more than anything, for us as a staff and as a program, just his leadership, as far as the consistency, every day is the same, right? He's going to be as intense today in practice in an hour as he will be, on Thursday at the National. That's just, he's the same all the time. I think that is very important if you want to be the best, right? Is just be the same every day. So he doesn't have to be anything other than himself, right, this weekend, and that's what he'll be.
Not that you didn't know what Ohio State had to offer, but losing the Big Ten, was any kind of a wake-up call as far as stepping up another notch for this week?
Well, we wanted to win the Big Ten. Our team wanted to. We knew that we had to wrestle really well, and I think our guys wrestled well. We just didn't wrestle great enough to beat Ohio State. I think they had a great tournament. They won a lot of close matches and won some tough matches, and they just won the tournament, right? So yeah, I think anytime you lose, that clarifies, should clarify a lot of things. It just kind of help you really focus in on what it is that you do want, right? And so hopefully that helps us. I don't see it hurting us, right? I mean, losing is never fun, but I think our guys are clear on what they want to do, right? They want to win the national championship, and this is the week to do it.
Is it more fun to dominate a tournament, or just to be really competitive? A couple of points here and there.
Well, I think as a coach, you always want to dominate, right? I mean, nobody wants it to be close and back and forth. We've had NCAA tournaments where we've lost. We've had tournaments where we've won by a few points, and we've had tournaments that we've won by a lot of points, right? And they're all special in their own way, and you move forward, win, lose, or draw, right? I mean, what we're interested in and most focused on is just being the best that we can be, right? And being true to ourselves and our goals and what we stand for as a team and individually. And if we do that, we'll be proud and happy. But still, nobody wants to lose, right? Everybody knows that. Everyone wants to win.
Shaq was a guy who obviously wasn't pleased with his performance in the Big Tens. How has he recouped since then, and is that just a matter of nerves, or how do you kind of make sure that he is pleased with his performance this time around?
Well, yeah, I think he wasn't real pleased with himself, and he still took second in the Big Ten, right, which is pretty good. But I think he's kind of, like I just said before, I think those losses kind of give you clarity and kind of make you focus more on what you want as opposed to maybe something that you don't want, right? There's a big difference in between those two perspectives. And I expect Shaq to wrestle well. I think he'll be a little more loose and relaxed maybe than he was at the Big Ten. That's the plan anyways.
Cael, Nick Nevels is a guy who's seen a lot of improvement this season, and he's worked his way up to being number 3 seed again, and he'll have the chance to wrestle a couple guys he lost to earlier in the season. So I want to see your thoughts on his journey this year and his improvement and what you've seen in him.
Yeah, I think Nick Nevels is wrestling really well right now. He's much just better all around than he was mid-season, right? He was trying to get his weight up, and it wasn't really working. The weight wasn't going where we wanted it to go, and he just felt a little sluggish and just wasn't himself. So he's leaner and quicker, moving a lot better now, and I think he's a lot more confident. But he's the 3 seed. But he'll have tough matches right away, like you said. I think, but every match is huge, right? In the first round, we've got to go out there and be ready to wrestle. But it's a national tournament, so if you want to be a national champion, you've got to beat everybody else, right? And that's he's got some great competitors in his weight class.
How did the last week kind of shape preparation and instruction in terms of having spring break and coming off? Was it more of a blessing or more of a curse?
With the spring break aspect? Well, it'd be nice if it was this week, just so our guys didn't have to miss class. But that's just the way it is, and it's nice because we're pretty much the only people in the building, right? So, the line at Qdoba's really short that week, right, which is nice. And but yeah, it doesn't really matter. We're going to train the same way, and maybe the kids enjoy it because they get the time off. Hopefully they took advantage of spring break and got ahead in class. I mean, that's always the plan. Whether they do that or not, we find out after we get their grades back. But I think it works out fine. We're whatever we have, we'll deal with it.
Does Nick Lee, what kind of lesson do you think he learned at the Big Tens, and does he have another level to step up to?
Yeah, I thought Nick came back and wrestled really well after his loss, and he's a guy that's always going to give you his best effort. He just made some tactical errors, but it's being over aggressive, which we'll take that right any day of the week, because that just says that his potential is enormous. It's great. But yeah, he's just got to real simply keep staying a lower stance when he's pursuing his opponents. Little things like that. Keep his hands down. so he's not giving his legs up as easily. But yeah, Nick's he's a true freshman going to the national tournament, but he's had a lot of experience, and he's surrounded with a lot of confidence, I think, and kids that know that they're going to be at their best this week. I think our team knows that that's going to be the case, and he's going to feel that, and he's watched our teams in the past to know that we're at our best at the national tournament every year, and I think that gives him a lot of confidence.
Okay, Corey Keener seemed to have more aggression and more efficiency in finishing his shots on Sunday morning at Big Tens than maybe he did on Saturday. Could you identify what the difference and what does he have to do to carry that forward?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. He just needs to be more relaxed and more calm, right? It's just a wrestling match, right? It's not anything more than that, and sometimes we can build things up in our head, and instead of being motivated by that, it paralyzes us a little bit. So I think he did a great job with that and turned things around and wrestled really well in a match that I think he won really by the skin of his teeth in the dual meet. He won by a major decision in a match that was going to give him a spot at the Nationals. So he wrestled great, and hopefully he'll keep that same loose mentality, right? Because really we don't have anything to lose at this point, right? It's a national tournament. Corey's goal, I believe, is to be an All-American. He hasn't been an All-American, so he has a great opportunity ahead of him.
With your younger guys, is it as much about preparing them mentally as physically to be able to perform at their best at the national tournament like some of your older guys have done?
Yeah, I think so. The mental game is just as important, if not more important, right? I mean, it goes hand in hand with the physical preparation, right? If you're not physically prepared, it's going to be tough to be mentally tough and believe that you're ready to go. So they go hand in hand. One's not going to go without the other, but you can be physically prepared and not mentally prepared, right? Like you're saying. So, yeah, a lot of that's, but that's training that he's gotten from his family his whole life, and his high school coaches and his little league coaches, and just something that we try to sharpen and really just reinforce the same things he's been taught his whole life. At least we hope he's been taught those things his whole life, right? But in regard to who are we talking about, Nick Lee?
Just younger guys.
Oh, younger guys, because he has, Nick Lee has, for sure. I mean, he's just great mentality, he's fearless. But yeah, it's the mental game's obviously very important.
Where's Vincenzo's head going into this weekend, Cael? I know he was pretty confident when we talked to him last week heading into Big Tens.
Yeah.
After that tournament, I imagine he's probably the same. He's been a confident guy since he's been here.
Yeah, well, Vincenzo seems to, the further you go along, the better he wrestles, right? So I think he wrestled well at the Big Tens. That weight class is loaded, so every match was a tough opponent. And he scored bonus points throughout the tournament. Lost, I don't know how many seconds it was of riding time to a two-time national champion. Obviously, he's a national champion. So I think he's confident, right? He knows he's going to wrestle well. He didn't feel like he wrestled great at the Big Ten, and I think he believes and knows that he's going to wrestle great this weekend.
Do you think guys like Zane who take a redshirt year after they start competing for the varsity team, what do you think they have to gain taking a redshirt year during the career versus right out of high school?
Well, it just depends on the individual. A lot of that depends on the needs of the team, right? We've wrestled true freshmen, but it's always been because the team needed them to, right? I would think a redshirt year initially. Maybe not always. Maybe there are kids that need to get right in there and they need to be busy and they need to, be competing and training and looking forward to the next tournament, to keep them focused. But anytime you can spend a year and just train with the people that we have in this program, you're going to improve, right? So a guy like Zane, when we were recruiting him, he knew that we needed him right away, and he stepped up, and then the things in the team changed, and it didn't make sense to us to wrestle him when we were redshirting a lot of other potential point scorers, right? And had he wrestled, we wouldn't have him right now, right? So, and we wouldn't have had his leadership for another year. So, yeah, it just depends on the individual, it depends on the team. You know, ultimately, it's up to that kid and that student athlete to make the most of whatever he's redshirting or not. And, you know, Zane did that.
Does anything ever upset him? I mean, have you ever seen him like blindingly mad, Zane?
That's a good question. Not really. I mean, you see him, he doesn't really show that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if somebody scores on him in practice, I wouldn't say he gets mad, he just speeds up, right? So it's usually not a good thing for them, his opponents. But I can't say that I've really ever seen him really mad. It's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. But.
Cael, at what point did you realize Zane could truly be a leader for this team? Was it as early as when you were recruiting him?
He always had just that look in his eye that he was different, he was unique. You know, even in the recruiting game, he beat me there, right? I spent hours in his living room trying to negotiate with him, and you know, he beat me. But now, obviously, we got, you know, we were more than happy, and so he's a competitor, and he just believes in himself. I think he has his really high standards in all aspects of his life, right? Academically, he's a dean's list each semester, and it's easy to let that slide a little bit, you know, if you're, you know, having the success that he's been having, right, and as busy as he is. But yeah, I don't know. I just think he's always been unique. You know, whether we thought he was going to be this good or not, we're hopeful. But you know, to say that a kid will be competing with the potential of winning a third national title as a senior and four-time All-American and everything else that he's accomplished, that's tough to predict there.
Is there ever a moment of realization in the room early in his career where the light goes on in your head, where you see something, he does something, and it's like, this is the guy we were looking for?
Well, I know when we were recruiting him, he wasn't necessarily, you know, there were a couple guys in the weight, and he wasn't winning all the matches, right? But he was consistent in his effort was great, right? And his training was second to none, right? And just his mentality and his commitment to excellence in life, I think, are second to none. So, I mean, he's passed guys up, but you know, it doesn't always work out like that, right? I mean, it comes back to the student athlete continuing to be clear on and motivated towards athletics and academics, right? Sometimes kids leave home and sometimes they lose that fire for whatever reason, right? But yeah, he'll continue on until the last day he wrestles. Even if he gets into coaching, he's just going to do everything he can to be successful, right? He's going to outwork people, and he's very coachable, right? If I tell Zane, hey, when you wrestle, you got to hold your hand up in the air, he'll do it, right? And there's not very many kids like that, especially that are as successful as he is. So I think that's not only his work ethic, you know, his academic and his social life being great. He's coachable, right? And he's grateful, right? He's a humble kid and very unique, special. So I think all of our coaching staff have talked to his parents about sending our kids, you know, to them for the summer, just to let them train our kids up to be more
to the
like
farm.
Zane. Yeah, farm and work hard every day. And, yeah. All right.
Anything else? All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.